The Lord withdraws no one from hell unless he sees that he is in hell and wishes to be let out. That's a quote from Divine Providence 251 by Emanuel Swedenborg. The word of the Lord contains many apparent paradoxes. For example, Matthew 11 verses 28 to 30 says, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." On the other hand, Matthew 7 verses 12 to 14 say, "Enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and easy is the way that leads to destruction, and those who enter by it are many. For narrow is the gate, and hard is the way that leads to life, and few are those who find it." The first passage implies that following the Lord in the way to heaven is easy, and the burden is light, while the second passage suggests that the way to heaven is hard, and very few find it. Both of these passages are quoted in the work Heaven and Hell by Emanuel Swedenborg. What is said there shows how both passages from the Gospel of Matthew can be true. Heaven and Hell number 553 says, "That it is not so difficult to live the life of heaven as some believe is clear from this, that when anything presents itself to a person that he knows to be dishonest and unjust, but which he thinks about doing, it is simply necessary for him to think that it ought not to be done, because it is opposed to divine laws. If a person accustoms himself to think in this way, and from doing so establishes a habit of thinking so, he is gradually conjoined to heaven. Into this state a person is able to enter because of his freedom. For isn't anyone able from his freedom to think in this way? This is what is meant by the Lord's words, 'My yoke is easy and my burden is light.'" But it ought to be known that the difficulty of thinking in this way and of resisting evils increases so far as a person from his intention does evils. For in the same measure he becomes accustomed to them until he no longer sees them, and at length he loves them, and from the delight of his love excuses them and confirms them by all kinds of falsities, and even declares them to be allowable and good. That's also from Heaven and Hell number 553. So the yoke becomes easy and the burden light to the degree that we resist doing what is evil when the thought of doing so occurs to us. But it becomes increasingly hard the more we give in to our self-centered and immoral desires and become accustomed to excusing them. Now this ties in with our topic. Hell, it's our choice. And with what we read from Divine Providence 251. The Lord withdraws no one from hell unless he sees that he is in hell and wishes to be let out. The Lord loves everyone. He is the source of love. From that love, he wishes to draw everyone into heaven, provided they wish to be in heaven. The Lord gives freedom in spiritual things to everyone, and he never takes that freedom away from anyone. The Lord gives freedom and reason to everyone, to both the good and the bad, to those in heaven and also to those in hell. The divine is equally with the evil and with the good. He makes his rain to fall upon the just and the unjust. But let us look at some more statements in the Divine Providence. Everyone was created to live forever. Everyone was created to live to eternity in a state of blessedness. Everyone was created to come into heaven. Therefore, it is of the divine providence that everyone can be saved, and those are saved who acknowledge God and live well. and therefore the person himself is to blame if he is not saved. The Lord wishes to draw everyone into heaven. The question really is whether the person wishes to be with the Lord in heaven. Some who think about hell may have a question as to whether the Lord desires to punish people eternally. He doesn't. They may wonder whether he wishes to save everyone. He does. And he loves us so much that he will not force us to love him if we do not want to. He regards our freedom as something sacred. The Lord is working constantly to withdraw everyone from his or her own private hell. But if we really desire to be there, if we love to be there, he will not force us against our will. Now we may want to apply that statement, the Lord withdraws no one from hell unless he sees that he is in hell and wishes to be let out, especially to those who choose to live in hell. But perhaps it makes more sense to apply the passages much closer to home. Doesn't it make more sense to see the passage as it relates to our own lives in this world? Haven't most of us experienced times when it seems like we are living in hell? And most of us, perhaps all of us, have times when we are thinking and acting like devils, thinking unkind thoughts about others, wishing others would get what they so rightly deserve, according to our judgment. How often do we find ourselves gossiping, backbiting, and criticizing? Most of us have been there, sometimes on a daily basis, sometimes several times a day. That is our own personal hell. It creates a hellish attitude within us and may create a hellish attitude around us. And that is what the Lord wishes to withdraw us from. But for him to do so, it is necessary for us to recognize the state that we are in and desire to be led out of it. If we truly have that desire and are truly willing to change, the Lord will lead us out, because the Lord withdraws no one from hell unless a person sees that he is in hell and wishes to be let out. Thank you for listening.